welcome to all of you joining us for the Greenhouse Demo Day, both here in person and to those of you joining us virtually too. You are in for a real treat this afternoon, and I know the reason you're here, so we're going to get to that as quickly as possible, but just a few brief points to share first. This is the fourth time that we are coming back together to celebrate the achievements of the Greenhouse startups here in the beautiful Royal Institution. And before we kick off, just some very brief background points to share with you and an outline of what you can expect this afternoon, along with just a few brief housekeeping points. I promise I will keep it as brief as possible so we can get to the good stuff. Now, the Greenhouse Accelerator kicked off back in January 2021, and this was as part of the new Centre for Climate Change Innovation, which is now known as Undaunted, as you all know. Since then, 100 teams have participated in the 12-month programme of support, and the startups that you'll be hearing from today are all part of the fourth intake of that programme. We have such an exciting afternoon lined up for you, which will be split into three sections, and those three sections will be focused firstly on the circular economy and low carbon materials. We'll then focus on food and nature-based systems, and we'll finish up with system efficiencies. We'll have guest speakers to kick off each section, followed by 5 startup pitches per section. We ask for your participation throughout with questions, and at the end of each pitch we'll put those to the team. So do please keep your mobile phones to hand, but if you haven't already, please put them on silent to avoid disruption. We aim to wrap up proceedings by around 5:30, and at which point we'll ask you to join us for networking drinks, which will run until around 7:30. And each of the startups has a designated standing table in the networking space, so they should be really easy to find. And if you struggle at all, members of the Undaunted team are on hand. You'll find them, and they can point you in the right direction. Just a few final points of housekeeping. There are no planned fire alarms during the event this afternoon, so if it happens, it's a real thing, please file out via the fire exit signs, which you'll see either side of the stage here. The toilets are on the ground floor to the right at the bottom, and the RA team, I've been told, will be hosting a science demonstration during the breaks throughout this afternoon at the end of the event, so do make sure to check those out. Right. I'm really excited to join you for this afternoon. I'm Raya Al-Salehi. I'll be your host throughout and hopefully making sure that things go smoothly. You are in for a real treat, and we're going to kick off with the first of 2 speakers to officially start proceedings this afternoon. Please put your hands together to welcome the CEO of HSBC UK, Ian Stewart.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? Am I on? Good. Well, first of all, can I just add my welcome to the Royal Institution? I'll share my thoughts on that just in a second, but thank you to the Royal Institute, Imperial College and Undaunted Greenhouse for organising today. It's a very special day, and we look forward to seeing the showcases a little bit later on. I'm not going to speak for long, you'll be glad to know, but let me just tell you a little bit about speaking here. I think I said this in December last year. It's quite a daunting place to speak, not because you are so daunting, but because of all the people who have spoken here before over many decades. And I feel pretty humble to be standing here before you today because I'm not a scientist. So you are the scientists and engineers, and when you're speaking later, I hope you capture the mood and get some great thoughts out into the audience. So, let me get into a few comments. The climate crisis can only be tackled in collaboration with all industry sectors and society in general. And I think you maybe caught the mood of that over the last few days as government starts to make changes to their policies. You know, the mood in the country on such changes is quite interesting. I won't comment on politics, that's not my job. But you can see that people want change and they understand the importance of change at this particular time. Innovators are seizing upon this challenge to help pioneer a new future. These innovators will play a huge role in us reaching net zero in the decades ahead. And we welcome not just your creativity, but also your tenacity, because getting your ideas to market is not easy, and we understand that. Global climate tech investment in 2022, it reached an all-time high, and this will sound like a huge amount of money, at $82 billion. And that was a 19.4% increase year on year. But the bottom line is you need more. We've got a lot to do in a very short time frame. And $3.2 billion of that money was raised in the UK. So the UK is a very, very important home for innovation and fundraising. London is the third biggest startup hub globally after the USA and China. And the UK is bigger than France, Germany, and Sweden put together. So it's a really important market for startup businesses. 25% of venture capital is now directed towards climate technology. I think that will increase in the years ahead. And it's a really important part of HSBC's business. So this year, in March, when we got the chance to buy Silicon Valley Bank, which is famous for helping startups, we took that opportunity. And we are super excited about the opportunities that is then opened up for us. And it's introduced us to many new people, many new opportunities. And I think over the next 10 years, we will see ourselves becoming much closer to the innovation economy at large. A couple of things on climate tech. Growth in climate software, I think, is going to be material and fundamental going forward. Now, I'm on record, I'm a big AI fan. I understand some of the challenges. I understand if it gets into the wrong hands. Bear in mind, fraud is one of our biggest enemies. So I understand the challenges, but I think on balance, AI is going to be a godsend for the industry. And I'm super excited about some of the things that are happening already, even in my industry, but hopefully in the plans that you've got, you can see AI working its way in and helping you, especially on things like health. I think health, all the things on protein today on the back of AI are so important. But secondly, I think beyond that, the climate tech beyond net zero is going to be really important. And we can see a lot of crossover and cross-pollination going forward as well. And I hope we see a lot of great ideas and really courageous thinking on that in the months and years ahead. A couple of bits about HSBC. We announced our ambition to achieve net zero in our own operations by 2030. We will be ahead of that. The challenge for us is to get all our customers net zero by 2050, because we've got to take our customers with us. We bank tens of thousands, millions of customers across the globe. We operate in over 50 countries. Getting all our customers to net zero is not going to be easy. And we've got to do it in a balanced way, in a fair way. So if you're in the fossil fuel industry today and we suddenly tap up and say, look, we're not going to bank you anymore, that's not the way to go about it. You've got to take people on the journey. And we're working very hard on that at the moment, and it's not without its challenge. So fingers crossed we will get there. And we're also helping a lot of our retail customers. Again, we bank millions of retail customers, and helping retail customers understand what they can do to transition to net zero. And if you are close to housing in the UK, you will know that 29 million homes have got to be retrofitted by 2050. That is a huge exercise. And getting the funding and getting the right technology in every home is not without challenge. But we're up for that challenge. We think it's absolutely fundamental to us. Last week, we announced a $1 billion financing incentive for early stage tech and climate innovation. We think that's really important. And I know people say, oh, you bandish out these big numbers. We don't just bandish out the big numbers. We don't go into the market and say there's $1 billion available without it being available. So hopefully, over time, people in this audience can tap into that $1 billion and hopefully get your projects live and commercialized. Because there's lots of great ideas out there, but getting them commercialized is quite a challenge. And finally, through Imperial College's Climate Innovation Programme, we will provide funding for 120 ventures. And we see that as really making a difference at the coalface, helping people in this room, helping people who have been before you, and hopefully helping people who will come after you. It's very important we help businesses bring their ideas to a commercial reality. And that means business skills, mentoring, getting you through the difficult periods. And just when you think you can't get there, we'll hopefully give you a nudge in the right direction to get your product out there. So we're very excited by it. We're delighted to be part of this. We find it very challenging, very stimulating. But at the end of the day, we know that with people like yourselves, with all your creativity and all your tenacity, we can crack this. So I wish you all the very best, And with that now, as promised, it's a very short speech. I will hand you back to Rhea, who will take you through the rest of the agenda. Thank you very much.
Next, a welcoming speech from the Director of Undaunted, the Director of Innovation at the Grantham Institute for Climate Change and the Environment. Please put your hands together for Alyssa Gilbert.
First of all, thank you all for coming here today. It's a really important part of the journey of our innovators when they stand here in the not very, quite intimidating stage and speak about the innovations that they've been working on for nearly a year with us in front of hopefully a friendly and interested audience. So this is a really exciting moment. So thank you for joining us. I just wanted to say, first of all, a few words to thank our sponsors. So thank you very much to Ian and all the others from HSBC UK for supporting the Greenhouse, which is the flagship program of our climate innovation activity. The value of this support is really vital. It enables us to support climate innovators in the way that we want to, which is part of a public good, helping those innovators focus on building their ideas without being under strain to deliver for investors too early, to help them develop their skills and their ideas so they can focus on the potential environmental and climate impact, as well as their personal development, so that by the end of a year, they're ready to get investment and build what is hopefully hugely promising commercial growth, but equally promising growth in terms of the impact that they can have on climate and the environment. So we couldn't do that without the support of HSBC UK. And also our other important supporters, the Greater London Authority and the Mayor of London supports our program in a range of different ways, helping to raise the profile of innovators in London, attract people to this city, and then help us connect to other parts of the UK and the world as we grow the scale up of these innovations. We're also supported by Prince Albert of Monaco Foundation, who support a few of our startups. And we've been supported for this cohort that you're going to see also by the European Union Regional Development Funds. So that's how we make this happen. Just one further word, Undaunted, which is how we feel, but also what we're doing in the face of climate change, has the Greenhouse, this innovation acceleration piece at its heart. But we also work very hard because we're based at Imperial College to try and build a pipeline of ideas that can come in and grow, become these early stage innovations. So if you or people you know are interested in becoming climate innovators, or they have an idea that at the moment is just on the back of the envelope, we're really keen to speak to you and help you develop that so that one day you might also be on this stage. Equally, we spend a really active part of our time trying to build, invest, and develop the ecosystem in London, the UK as a whole, with global connections to help our innovators thrive after they've completed what they're going to talk to you about today. So, very warm welcome. I'll be speaking again a bit later about some of our other programs, but for now, I'm going to pass over back to Rhea so that you can hear about the work of our exciting innovators.
Many thanks to both of our opening speakers there. It is almost time to hear from the first group of climate innovators this afternoon, and each team will deliver a short pitch about their innovation and their vision, and also how you might be able to support them today. We are inviting you, the audience, to submit questions to each of the team, and you can do that via Mentimeter, which is accessed via your screen, via your phone rather, and you'll see details of this just on the screen behind me. You access this via menti.com. You can scan the QR code, as I see many of you are already doing, and enter the code 1405157. That's 1405157. Again, all of the details are on the screen. If you're struggling with Wi-Fi, details of that, I believe, are also on the screen. There is publicly accessible Wi-Fi with the password there too. And then a few of the questions that you submit will be submitted to each team to answer, and we're going to try and keep things as tight as possible, so please do be fairly quick with getting those questions in. Now, after hearing all of the pitches in each section this afternoon, we would also like to ask you to submit a score for each of the team on some key areas, and you can do that again via Mentimeter. The three areas for you to score are, firstly, the commercial impact, commercial potential rather, the climate impact of the innovation, and the quality of the pitch. And then at the end of the event, we'll be announcing the three highest scoring teams who will all receive an award. Right, with that all out of the way, let's get to the good stuff, and time to introduce the first exciting innovators to the stage. To kick off today, our first section is entitled Circular Economy and Low Carbon Materials. And please welcome, to kick things off, Team Repair with the founder, Megan.
What do you want science lessons to be like for your children? Well, I think they should look like this. A collection of wow moments where children start to realise how the real world works. My name's Megan, the CEO and co-founder of Team Repair, and this isn't how I remember science lessons. I remember endless exams and textbooks, which left me disengaged and with a lack of confidence in science. Our education system is struggling. 64% of schools have a shortage of science teachers, and this is only going to get worse. This isn't the way we should be educating the next generation of scientists and engineers that need to solve the world's biggest problems. So introducing Team Repair. We found a way to put the wow moments back into the science classroom, so it looks a bit more like this: encouraging curiosity, determination, and empowering children with how the real world works. We've developed a program that sends children gadgets, and it's their job to figure out what's wrong and how to fix them. As they take apart the gadgets, they learn curriculum science topics in the real world. So to learn about electric circuits, we send them a games console. To learn about lenses, they fix a microscope. We empower teachers with all the tools they need to deliver hands-on, impactful science lessons, without the need for expertise or lots of lesson planning time. We have competitors that offer STEM kits that are built once, played for a bit, and then thrown away. But here's how we're different. We're teaching real science with real products. We're teaching the life skill of repair, combining STEM and sustainability education. And we have a novel circular business model. We pick toys that children would love to play with. We then engineer in specific faults into the toys and send them to children to fix. And once they've finished with the repair, the schools send them back to us, so we can re-implement the faults for the next child. We're on a mission to prove that circular businesses can be low cost and highly profitable, given that we have a positive gross margin from the first time we send out one of our kits. We also have diverse revenue channels. With exactly the same kit, we've been able to sell to parents, schools and councils, and corporates for sponsorship, which shows massive market opportunities. From this learning, we've decided we want to focus on schools, as it would be the most profitable and impactful place for us to start. So we've set ourselves a goal. In 5 years' time, we want to be in 5,000 schools. This would mean reaching over 1 million children a year and a potential annual recurring revenue of £34 million. After reaching this goal, we want to develop other programs, a digital offering, and launch globally. We started as a team of engineers who spent the last 5 years developing products together. Now, we have global media coverage. We have been supported by world-leading organisations. We've reached over 1,000 children, and we have over 100 schools in the pipeline for the rest of this year. This means that we've been able to reach profitability this month. We've been able to do all of this with the support of Greenhouse in just 1 year. Now, we need your support to be able to increase our capacity. Today, we're looking for initial conversations with investors for a raise early next year and connections to schools, councils, institutions, and corporates looking to sponsor. So if you care about engaging the next generation of scientists and engineers, join us in our mission to fix the future. So I'd like to have my COO and CPO, Anais and Oscar, join me for the questions. Thank you for listening.
Very well done. So please do use the details on the screen to enter menti.com and to ask any questions you might have. And to begin, Megan, perhaps for one of your team, tell us about who your competitors are and how you differ.
We are currently the only education provider that are combining electrical repairing with STEM education. However, our biggest competitors within the STEM kit place are companies such as KiwiCo and Mel Science. They sell classroom kits as well, retailing from £7 per head to around £15 per head, and that is where we lie ourselves. However, we're differing from them with the USPs that Meg mentioned, like our hands-on applicability to the real world. There are also kits from companies such as Sphero and Lego Minds. They provide classroom kits which are retailing at a much higher price, around £2,000 to £3,000, which are then can be kept by the school. So it's a slightly different rental model, but per head it calculates the same.
Yeah, okay. And how about the age that this is designed for, and why you've picked that age group?
So our age is 10 to 14-year-olds. We've selected that because it's been identified by studies to be the golden age for getting children, particularly girls, interested in science and technology before critical decisions like choosing GCSE subjects.
And we've had a question in asking how you obtain the objects to be repaired. How do you go about doing that?
I'll speak to you on it.
Yeah, so all of the gadgets that we engineer and faults to are available from OEMs, manufacturers. So we get them straight from there. So that's enough capacity and scale for when we do scale up. And then we engineer in the faults ourselves so that they teach the lessons that we want to teach.
Brilliant. And another question, and please explain how you generate revenue.
Yeah, sure. So this time last year when we first started, we were generating revenue from our focus groups in workshops with councils. So we got paid to do that, and we got around £30,000 of revenue doing that. And then in April, we soft launched our at-home service, and we got £6,000 in revenue doing that. And we saw it as a massive opportunity, but now we actually want to use those parents as ambassadors to get us into schools, because we found it's much easier as well getting the returns from schools than at home. And then this month we launched in schools. So it's been a very intense month talking to lots of schools, renting our kits into schools, but that's allowed us to now reach over £10,000 of revenue this month.
Brilliant. Another question in asks, do you have the current team needed to reach your 950,000 student goal? And if not, what expertise do you need on your team to do so?
Yeah, sure. I think we've each got a bit for this question. So the 950,000 is in 5 years' time. So we've got a lot of time to grow and scale. I'd say the two challenges to get there is reaching out to schools, which Anais is focusing on, and Oscar is focusing on the scalability of our operations.
Yeah, so our beachhead into schools is academy trusts and independent schools, because they have those budgets readily available. However, our core mission is to make STEM accessible for children everywhere, and so obviously our target is state schools. They don't currently necessarily have the budget, and so to be able to fund those, we're working with councils who have already proven that they're willing to give us grants and money to help the local schools in the area. And then the big one we'd like to target is corporates and engineering technology firms. We are providing them with a very clear way for how they can create impact and sponsor local schools. And we'd be very interested if there's anyone in the crowd today who wants to continue that conversation at our stall later on.
Then scalability of operations as well.
Yeah, so also to mention, we have a great board of advisors as well who are helping us with our expertise, pointing out where we need more help. And yeah, specifically on logistics, we know our two main challenges is sourcing stock, which I just mentioned, and fulfilling stock. So we're in talks with fulfillment centres who are working with us. We've got quotes for both the rebreaking of the gadgets and the fulfillment of deliveries. So we are confident that we can scale with fulfillment centres.
Okay, Team Repair, we are at time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I know there were some further questions there. Don't worry, if you have any questions, you can ask each of the teams directly during the networking session, and in each break they will be in the networking area, so you can ask those questions directly. That brings us on to the next team, Team Cool, and over to CTO Tommy.
I didn't see anything. That's good. That's true. Congrats, guys.
Good afternoon. We're Cool. We're a UK-based carbon storage and utilisation company with the mission of the carbon cycle.
They're like, there is it. They're like,
What is going on?
I got a lot slower.
There's a really many people.
Yes, yes.
And we come. That should be cool.
It's estimated to be over 40 billion tons a year. To reach our net zero goals for 2050, we know that we must deploy CCS.
Guys.
This is particularly true for point source emitters, such as power plants and cement factories, which collectively account for roughly half of the global emissions. However, currently the global CCUS deployment level is only about 40 million tons a year. So depending on the study, the global CCUS uptake needs to increase by over 100-fold by 2050 to reach our net zero goals. However, most CCUS solutions available today do not simultaneously fulfill the three key criteria for exponential growth. That is profitability, scalability, and carbon storage permanency. In particular, the profitability issue is prominent. For example, geological storage paired with carbon capture can store millions of tons of CO2 even as of today. However, this process creates no byproduct, and it costs CO2 emitters well over $100 to store just 1 ton of CO2. Alternatively, CO2 could be turned into various other products, such as fuel or minerals, but these processes are very rarely cash flow positive. This is where we want to make a difference. Cool's technology can potentially simultaneously fulfill the three key criteria, that is profitability, scalability, and carbon storage permanency. We do this by converting the CO2 from point source emitters into this versatile raw material named carbon nanotubes. So what are CNTs? Well, with naked eye, they often look like this black carbon powder, much like graphite. However, they have this very unique cylindrical nanostructure, and as a result, they have incredible mechanical, thermal, and electrical properties. Very importantly, CNTs are incredibly stable, making the carbon storage effectively permanent. So thanks to these amazing properties, CNTs have found numerous applications in a large array of sectors, from aviation to automotive to energy storage and microelectronics. And the global CNT market is estimated to be about $100 billion by 2030. Importantly, CNTs are often used as additives to create high-performance products, which are lighter, stronger, or has higher efficiency. So through that, we can create further CO2 abatement by either using less material or replacing conventional materials with higher carbon footprint. At the moment, we're constructing and developing our first pilot plant in collaboration with industrial partners in the energy and manufacturing sectors. With that, we hope to demonstrate generating up to 8,000 British pounds of revenue from just 1 ton of CO2. And in the long term, we believe that our technology has the potential to sequester millions of tons of CO2 per year. And we hope to create much more CO2 abatement by creating CNT-enhanced products. And for that, we're already carrying out research and development with potential CNT off-takers. It is our mission to become one of the main contributors towards our net zero goals. So if you represent, or if you have contact in point source emitter, potential CNT users, or waste-to-energy companies, please get in touch, and we'd love to explore potential collaborations. Thank you.
Well done, Tommy, and for battling through a few technical errors at the start there, but it happens. It's a live event. Right, time now for your questions. Again, please use menti.com to get those in using the QR code on the screen now. And Tommy, starting with a question about the main applications of carbon nanotubes.
So, as I mentioned briefly, they're mostly used as additives in a variety of sectors. For example, we use CNTs as a conductive additive to mix into polymers, plastics. And with that, we create conductive plastics, and that's often used in pretty much all of our cars in fuel lines and fuel tanks to prevent static. And they're also very commonly used as a strength-enhancing additive in a variety of sort of composite material applications. And the other main application, which I did my sort of research on, was using carbon nanotubes in batteries in a variety of energy storage applications. And one of our potential biggest area of exploration is to use CNTs in cement and concrete, because they're simultaneously a large CO2 emitter and a potential user of carbon nanotubes.
We've had a question in about whether your approach will also work with graphene.
The idea will be similar, but the process of making graphene, well, it's a different technology, in short. I don't know how interesting it would be for me to go into the technical details.
Maybe that's one to say.
I would love to have a conversation later at the stand.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, another question, how close are you to full technical proof of concepts?
The pilot plant, basically. So we know that our technology works on laboratory scale, but for those who've done research, we know that it takes a lot to upscale what is on a tabletop to industrial scale to what actually makes a difference in real life. And although we have plenty of data to back us, simulation and so on and so forth, to me, our main hurdle is to actually prove this at scale. And thankfully, we have a lot of interest from the industry to share the risk with us and to develop the pilot plant with us. So yeah, I'll say that's, in terms of timeline, the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully, maybe 1 to 2 years, fingers crossed.
Okay. How do you measure how much carbon has been utilized?
So we have an internal life cycle analysis expert, which helps. But also, before we carry out any project, as part of the feasibility study, we actually do a full-size life cycle analysis to, well, obviously the sort of the door-to-cradle calculation really varies, depends on where the CO2 comes from, the location, the resources you have, the end application, and so on and so forth. But in any case, it will be carbon neutral to negative, and depending on how dirty the CO2 is, it gets basically more negative. So it's a case-by-case basis.
Another question asks, do you have any competition currently?
There is another sort of stream of technology that makes carbon nanotubes from CO2, but they use a completely different technology, which we think is inferior, and we have, but genuinely I think it's inferior. And if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to dig into that. But in terms of CO2 to CNT, that's really our only competition, and they've gone fairly quiet. And in terms of sort of other CCUS technologies, to be honest, in my opinion, it's more of a collaborative effort rather than competition, because there's so much more CO2 than the technologies out there that could digest them. So actually almost every sort of company that we talk to, which are massive CO2 emitters, is actually better. I think the future will be have a tailored solution for them, which incorporates various technologies from storage to various utilization techs, depending on basically the local conditions and so on and so forth.
Okay, that brings us to time, Tommy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us on to the third pitch of the afternoon, to Team Cresco next. And please put your hands together to welcome Ed.
Hi there, everyone. So in 2020, 3.5% of the UK's annual emissions were as a result of a single building material, plasterboard. This material, hidden in our walls, is the third most used construction product on the planet, and yet despite this, its impact is often overlooked. The carbon resulting from constructing a building is called embodied carbon. We need to reduce the embodied carbon within construction by 40% by 2030 if we're to reach net zero targets. Ubiquitous and carbon-heavy materials, like plasterboard, present a major blocker to this. This is the problem that we're trying to solve at Cresco. We have a novel approach to creating new, low-carbon construction materials that uses waste and biomanufacturing. At Cresco, we believe the future is grown. We're tackling this massive problem with the tiniest of solutions, bacteria. Nature provides us with a bacteria that's capable of doing something amazing. They grow stone. We can harness this stone-growing bacteria as a binder to glue together waste products to create new low-carbon materials. Like these low-carbon wallboards that you can see here. We estimate that these have at a minimum a 70% reduction in CO2 emissions and can even be made to be carbon neutral. We're now developing a range of different wallboard materials with different properties to meet different market needs, from fire resistance to transport durability and insulative properties. We're able to take a blend of different feedstock materials and combined with our platform binding technology, create new material outputs with different properties. These feedstock materials range from waste aggregates like quarry fines to natural fibers and agricultural byproducts. By taking a blend of these different products and mixing it with our bacteria, we're able to create new, different material outputs. Materials like quarry fines are not only waste products, they're also available in vast quantities. Over 2 million tons are produced each year in the UK alone. By focusing on these large quantity waste streams, we're able to produce our materials at a quantity that's valuable to the construction industry. Our process involves taking a blend of these materials, mixing it with our bacteria, and supplying it with the correct nutrients to induce the formation of limestone. We're designing this process to be, from the beginning, to be scalable by focusing in particular on reducing the times that materials have to stay in molds. We've already reduced this from days to just a few hours. So to summarize, our materials are naturally fire resistant, they use abundant waste feed sources, and they have short molding times, which means that they can be scaled. We've already used this process to create some prototype interior products, like this table and decorative tiles that are made using waste bound together using our process. Our route to market involves using the design products market as a way to organically scale our manufacturing processes, whilst at the same time bringing visibility to our products, with the eventual goal of scaling to produce low-carbon construction boards for the low-carbon materials industry. This is expected to be worth $673 billion by 2030, and it's growing at 10% year on year. So right now we're a small company. In fact, we're a two-person team. As you can see, both very focused on our work and very interested in the environment and passionate about manufacturing. Together, we started Cresco just over a year ago, and in that time, we developed our process and a range of different products. We've recently received Innovate UK funding and are working in collaboration with Northumbria University to ensure the scalability of our manufacturing processes. At the beginning of Q1 next year, we'll be filing a patent for our process, and in Q2, we'll be raising a round of funding of approximately £300,000, which we'll be using to do pilot projects within industry and also certify the materials that we produce. If you're an investor or work within construction or in architecture, then we'd love to have a conversation with you about low carbon materials in the construction sector. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I welcome any questions you have.
Okay, time for questions. And Ed, it sounds like you're developing for non-structural applications. Can you explain why that is?
Yes. So obviously, within construction, you have a range of different materials. Some of those are structural, some of those are non-structural. We've gone for non-structural materials specifically because there's much less red tape in terms of certification for those products. So we don't have to jump over as many bars before we can get our products into the market.
Do you have any idea of the pricing compared to plasterboard?
Yeah, so for us, obviously pricing is a big deal. The construction industry is very price sensitive. The way that we're thinking about this is that the feedstock materials that we're using are often waste products, and so that already brings the cost of our materials down from the start. The main cost of our materials comes from the manufacturing, and on the manufacturing side, we've reduced our molding times, which obviously reduce our costs also. So by this, we're not getting completely comparative to plasterboard, but we're expecting that in the future we'll be in the 1.5 to 3 times the price range compared to plasterboard as we have scaled and depending on the scale that we manage to meet. Also in the short term, compared to other low carbon material alternatives that are available in the market today, we actually come in at under the cost of those products. So initially we wouldn't be competing with plasterboard, we'd be competing with these other low carbon products which are available today.
A question from one of the audience, does the waste need to be pure? Could you use, for example, timber waste?
Interesting question. So we haven't explored it. The waste streams that we're looking at, the quarry fines, for instance, they're already quite pure waste streams, even though they're available at very, very large scales. In terms of wood waste, it works with a very large variety of different materials. And so there's definitely potential to have even some variability in the waste, and that wouldn't affect our final material properties too much. Especially given that we're looking at non-structural applications again, we have a lot more leeway in terms of the mechanical properties of the materials that we're producing. So that definitely is an option, yeah.
How fast can you grow a 1 metre 3 board?
How fast can we grow a metre square board? So this comes in sort of 3 steps. So there's the first step, which is the culturing the bacteria. That takes between 12 and 24 hours, which you can do in a continuous or a batch process. Then there's the second step, which is the molding step, where you're actually forming the shape and morphology of the board. And that takes up to 2 hours at the moment, but we're looking at reducing that further. And then there's a curing step, which actually allows the bacteria to grow. This doesn't require mold or anything. It's basically just setting aside the board for a set of time. And that's up to 2 days that takes.
Okay, so that's per metre squared board. Another question asks, are there issues with breathability or mold resistance in the material?
So obviously, we've got a live bacteria in there when we're growing it, and so people might think, oh, that's going to make things moldy, but that shouldn't really be an issue for us. For breathability, our boards are breathable. The breathability depends on the different feedstock materials that you're putting in there, of course, but the binding material, the limestone itself, remains porous, and so that's really advantageous for us, because for board materials, mold and breathability are a big issue.
How do you plan to reuse or recycle the waste material of the product?
So is that, if that was the waste material, once we've taken our board and it goes to waste at the end of life, we could actually recycle that again by dissolving the limestone out of that product and using that back through our process. So we do actually have options in terms of circularity for these products where you can reuse the same chemicals over and over again through the process to feed new bacteria and reform. So, yeah.
That brings us to time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And again, a reminder, if there are any questions that you would like to ask any of those pitching today, you will find them all at tables in the networking session. That brings us on to the penultimate pitch of this section. And next, representing Shady Club, please put your hands together for Fatima.
Okay, happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Fatima. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Shady Club. And let's start again, huh? I'm the co-founder and CEO of Shady Club, and we're breaking the barrier to conscious shopping. So 4 in 5 people want to buy conscious fashion. And so I'm talking about products, new products that are sustainably made. But only 1 in 5 can actually find sustainable fashion. And there are 2 real barriers to this. One is there are very few search options out there, so it's very hard to find. And the second is information overload. There's just so much sustainability data out there. And so what we do is we make it easy with Shade. Shade is a browser extension that integrates itself into the user's existing shopping journey. And it provides a seamless experience that is in a segment worth 10 billion today. So as you can see on the left, that's someone shopping with Shade. And on the right, you'll see someone shopping without Shade. We present the sustainability ratings while shoppers actually using Shade. They'd be able to make informed decisions, and if they find something that they like, they can use the wand, click on the image, and we will find something that is similar in style, but from a conscious brand. You then get directed to their website, and you can make the purchase. While I've been explaining this to you, as you can see, if you're shopping without shade, that person's still trying to figure out whether Skims is sustainable. So by offering a search option that actually uses images rather than words, and by providing ESG credentials while you're shopping, we are breaking that barrier to conscious shopping by making it easy and effortless and rewarding. Just in 6 months, we were able to go beyond our beta product, and we've now soft launched onto the Chrome store. And our metrics are pretty impressive. We have 500 monthly shopping sessions with a 25% click-through rate. Our users are spoiled for choice. We give them 70,000 products, and we can detect 4,000 brands. In terms of traction, we have 700 unique social media followers. We have 480 people signed up to our newsletter. But the real value of shade is demonstrated by the product usage. Our users have been talking about how the technology is friendly, is style-centric, and it's actually been changing the way they actually shop for conscious fashion. And we have a 5-star rating on Google, so that's fun. So this is our team. Jenny and I are the founders of Shady Club. We are both innovation design engineers, experts in user experience interaction design, environmental science, and data analytics. And we're supported by a fantastic team with knowledge ranging from digital technologies all the way through to consumer behavior. So we just kicked off our affiliate marketing B2C model. We have officially partnered with 12 brands. We earn 10% in commission from every sale made. And I'm proud to say that just last month, we started earning a little bit of revenue. And in parallel to that, we've got an interest from markets and retailers. They're interested in our technology, and so we're discussing potential partnership opportunities, and what we've identified is the potential to use software licensing as our B2B revenue stream. So this brings me to our ask. We are raising £350,000 to expand our team, to scale our technology faster than we've already been doing, and to really grow our B2B channel. And so together, I really do believe that we can break this barrier towards conscious shopping by making it easy, effortless, and rewarding, and that will drive that sustainability within the fashion industry. Thank you, and ready for questions.
I'm joined by your team. Yes. Hi. Okay, time for questions. We start with one about what distinguishes you from sustainable marketplaces. What makes you different?
So there are 2 key factors that makes us different from a sustainable marketplace. One is that we have very low operational costs, and the reason for that is because we don't hold inventory. And the other is really around sustainable fashion marketplaces themselves create sort of high friction already for the shopping journey for customers. And it's because a customer still would have to go and search, okay, sustainable marketplaces, right? Whereas for us, we turn every website into a platform for finding and comparing and buying sustainable fashion. So we make it a lot easier.
A question asks which shops this works with.
I'll answer that one. Is this working? So Shade works with all of the major marketplaces that are out there, from ASOS to Urban Outfitters, the iconic Selfridges. We try to work with also a range of those marketplaces that go from, the typical stores you might see on a high street to also the higher end.
Could this be used for other sectors, for example, furniture, electronics, or food?
Yeah, for sure. We, at the moment, are focusing on fashion, but of course, in other areas, it would be the same. You'd be able to, filter and put forward the ratings, the sustainability ratings, just the same as you would.
Do you have any further questions? Yes. How do you determine the ratings of products online?
So the ratings. So the ratings actually come from a third party. There's a company called Good On You. They're a rating, they've created a rating system, like an approach, that is based on assessing companies' public data. What we do is they raise the awareness amongst consumers, and what we do is we make that data accessible. That's part of our mission.
Brilliant, okay. And any further questions? Yes. Are you planning a mobile app, as lots of shopping obviously happens on mobile?
Yeah, definitely. This is absolutely in our roadmap. We're looking at also developing our own marketplace, something that's available on mobile as well as desktop. Something we saw in our research as to why we first focused on desktop is really the fact that while a lot of browsing occurs on mobile, the main purchases are all happening on the desktop. So someone will look at products, figure out, okay, I really want to buy this. 1 week later, okay, I'm going to go on my laptop to actually put in my credit card information and make that purchase. So we want to catch that moment where there's the transition in the behavior of buying something and divert that to conscious shopping.
And how about your customer acquisition costs?
I can get that one. Yeah, so for our customer acquisition costs, right now, our users are all coming from organic growth. So right now we have 0 customer acquisition costs. We've been able to get that from press and from focusing on the community inside the sustainable fashion world. And that's been really great because what we see is there's a lot of engagement in that space and they're willing to sort of share the word and spread it around, and that's been great.
Brilliant. My eyesight is going to let me down here, so let me look there. How are the partnerships with new businesses achieved, and who makes the first approach?
I'll answer that. So partnerships with new businesses. The way that we had actually initially done it was we would approach the brand, we'd do a cold email. So the products that we recommend are for brands rated good or great by Good On You. And so we first did like a reach out cold email. That wasn't working very well. And so what we decided was we'll use our technology. What we do is we end up scraping their products, putting it up there, and they've been noticing, they've been getting sales through it. And so they've now been coming and approaching us about it. And yeah, it's been working well.
Brilliant. I think that brings us to time on questions. Thank you very much indeed. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So to our final pitch now in this section, please put your hands together to welcome from Dye Recycle, it's Ada.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zaida Rafat. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Dye Recycle, and today I'll tell you how we give dyes and fibers a second chance. The fashion and the textile industry has several challenges across its supply chain. First, we have the upstream challenge related to the very well-known and documented dyeing pollution and the water-intensive dyeing operations. Up to 24% of garment climate impact is related to dyeing our clothes. In the downstream of the industry, we have even a bigger challenge related to textile waste and the massive volumes of textile waste that's generated, and all the challenges related to fiber recycling technologies. Dyes and colorants are considered to be one of the main contaminations in the textile waste, and that can largely prohibit and limit textile recycling back to new textiles. And today, there is no efficient and clean way to decolor those textile waste fibers. What if we can find a way to connect those two seemingly unrelated challenges using one solution? How? Simple. Transfer the dyes from the old clothes to the new clothes. And this way, you end up with decolored fibers that can be now more easily and efficiently recycled back to new clothes. And at the same time, you will have new clothes that are more sustainably dyed with recycled dyes. So there's no need to manufacture new dyes. And this is in a nutshell how the dye recycle technology works. So we have developed a new chemical process that has the ability to selectively extract the dyes from the fibers without destroying the dyes and without destroying the fibers. And that essentially allows those two components to be recycled back to the supply chain. The exciting and important part is that there is almost no loss in performance, which basically means we can supply back the fashion industry with unlimited vibrant colors, while at the same time we have this decolored material that can be spun back into new textiles. So we transform a low textile waste into two valuable commodity products. Our commercial strategy is going to evolve as we grow. At the moment, we are at the innovation pilot stage where we are conducting minimum viable pilots with multiple global brands and fiber recyclers to validate our unique value propositions of fiber decolorization and recycled dyeing. We're just closing our first funding round, which means that we will get us one step closer to the supply chain integration milestone, where we are going to license our technology to early tech adapters to integrate the technology to dye houses and textile mills. And that naturally will take us to the last stage, which is the expansion and growth of licensing the technology to large textile manufacturers around the world. The founders behind this technology is myself. I'm a chemical engineer, and I have a PhD in chemical engineering from Imperial College London, and I'm also a Royal Academy of Engineering Enterprise Fellow. And my co-founder is Jason Hallett. He's a professor in sustainable chemical technology development in Imperial College. This summer, we've been very lucky. We have been one of the winners of the Global Change Award by Global Change Award by H&M Foundation. And it's one of the most prestigious awards in the textile and fashion innovation world. And we've just embarked on a one-year journey to accelerate our business and technology with them. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our supporters. Although we're only 1 year old, we have been very lucky to get a lot of traction and support. And as you know, building a company, you really need a tribe. And as I stand here today in a room full of incredible people, I'm very excited to meet as many of you as possible and build my relationships with you and find ways to work with each other. Thank you very much.
Ada, thank you very much. Well done. Time for questions now. And again, please use the details on the screen to submit your questions now. Starting with a question about the technology. Is it capital intensive?
That's actually also one of our additional unique value propositions, is that it's not. So we think of it as a plug-in technology, so we don't really need any specialized equipment, which is incredibly important whenever it comes to developing a new chemical technology. So we're going to be using the existing dyeing machines.
Another question asks, can you use any textile waste, or do you need to filter the waste first, and if so, how?
So there are already established textile sorting businesses. So what we will be doing is that we will partner with those textile waste sorters, and they will be supplying to us the sorted textile waste.
What are the CO2 savings of this process?
So we did a preliminary life cycle assessment, which is basically the tool that we use in order to understand the greenhouse gas emissions reductions. And we can see that the fact that we are eliminating the need to bring new dyes into the dyeing process, and also we are enabling a more efficient fiber recycling technology, that combined effect, we can actually save up to 85% of the greenhouse gas emissions.
How much does the color and pigmentation degrade with each extraction?
So at the moment, we don't really kind of see a huge change in performance. So we can actually capture similar colors up to 80 to 90% of the initial color.
And a further question asks, do you have much competition?
Not really, surprisingly. So there are competitors at both ends, kind of. So, for example, our competitors in the sustainable dyeing part would be the natural dyes or like bacterial dyes. So it's not really a direct competition. So we're the first people to actually recycle existing dyes.
Will the recycled dyes be friendly to sensitive skin, asks one audience member.
Not really. So it's basically the same as the existing dyes that everybody's wearing at the moment in this room. So there isn't going to be any sensitivity.
And is the fibre and product sorted by type, for example, wool, cotton, synthetic?
Yes, that's typically the sorting that the sorters handle. The material is typically sorted by composition as well as color.
Who do you see as your customers and suppliers?
So in an own and operate model, the customers would be directly the retailers and the brands for the dyeing part. And for the fiber part, we will be supplying the decolored fibers to mechanical and chemical fiber recyclers. So we will have, because we have two products, so basically we have two customers.
Mm-hmm. And can you create new colors with the recycled dyes?
Yeah, that's basically the exciting part. We are in the lab just basically mixing different dye baths to create a new color. So it is basically, is doable.
A rainbow lab. Does your process require water?
So it does require water for the washing, but also because it is a solvent-based process, so we have also like a quite significant water reduction in the overall footprint.
And do we have time for a final question in this section? Yes. Is this specific to cotton or is it all fabric types?
So at the moment, we're actually focusing mostly on synthetic fabrics, so mostly polyester and nylon, and we're moving towards polycotton slowly, and then eventually cotton because it is the most challenging, actually.
Okay, I think that brings us to time. Yes, Ada, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
A huge well done to all of the innovators in this inspiring round of first pitches this afternoon. I'm now going to just give you a few moments to score each of the teams that you've seen. Please use the QR code that you see above. Menti.com is the address you need, and the code that you need to enter is 1405127. That's 1405127. And you may need to refresh your browser page or click onto the next button for it all to work. So I'll just give you a few moments to do that. And while you're doing that, just a heads up that we are now going to take a short break. Our next round of pitches starts in 15 minutes, and we ask that you please come back to the lecture theatre ready for that at 2:35. Refreshments will be served in the room, which is located just through the doors outside the lecture theatre, but a reminder that no food or drink can be brought inside the lecture theatre. Bathrooms, if you need them, on the ground floor, and we also encourage you to please visit the lower ground floor if you haven't already on your way in, which has a small but really exciting museum with exhibits related to climate change, as well as Michael Faraday's original labs, which is very exciting. And also a reminder that you can speak to the startups who will be spread out at the tables across both rooms. And just a final point, if you are late entering the room at the end of the short break, please come in through the upper floor. The second floor, the main staircase there is the way to go, and you can find a seat on the upper theatre gallery, which will avoid causing too much disruption for the next event. So if you have managed to get your score in, thank you very much indeed. Join us back here in 15 minutes, 2:35. Thank you.